You and I met at the Compass Regional Connect the Dots event earlier this year. We
Yeah.
connected immediately over Concierge. You're the Staten Island authority, and obviously that's a very interesting niche market from an outsider's perspective.
Yeah.
Want to
Niche
learn
is a good
more.
word.
To have you as the Staten Island go-to is a privilege. So as like this show's all about concierge and our passion for concierge. Let's start with this very interesting, funny story
Okay.
about concierge, and then we'll open it up.
That's actually is a really good way to start because one of the things when I partnered with Compass, I put a lot of money into bus tail ads. And it was like a generic one we had, but then there was one specific to concierge. And Staten Island really did not know what Compass was. So my plan was that I didn't really try to explain it in a bus tail ad. It was just like these big words of Compass. And then concierge, it was very simply explained, let us give you the money to fix your home interest free, something like that. And because people are driving, they can't read all this stuff. I had two reactions from the bus ads. We had a really good photographer. And so we're all wearing these. I had four other guys on my team at the time. We're all wearing these really sharp blazers, had our hair all like really cool and everything. And we just said, that was just like Compass. I figured, what's the mission statement? Let us find your place in the world, something like that. So people thought either I was an attorney or a rock star. They had no idea what Compass was. So I said, oh, hopefully they Googled it. So I get this one call and the guy leaves this long message. He leaves me this message and said, yo, Slick, calls me Slick because of my sports jacket. So it goes, I'm in the business a long time, probably before you were born. Meanwhile, I'm older than him. And he says that he's concierge and it better be what I'm saying it is because you can't bullshit a bullshitter. Give me a call if it's not bullshit. If it's real, here's my number. It actually resonates. It explodes how people think about it because that's how people think about it. They don't believe it's too good to be true. So he was basically saying it's too good to be true. So in my good clients, we have a really good client meeting and then I'll say, we're getting, it's a listing appointment. And then we say also, in our listing proposal, we include this concierge portion. If you had any questions on that, and then we explain it. We give the money up front. We can provide you with contractors. You can use your own contractor. You basically get a debit card and it's interest free and you pay it back at the end. And then a great meeting like almost goes sour because they look at you like, come on, I thought you were a good guy. That's impossible. Yeah. But exaggerating, but you could see it in their eyes that there's this little bit of disbelief. But then you go a little bit further and they ask some questions and then they say, okay, so I sign up. The only thing about it is they have to have good credit, and so we say that up front and that it's limited at this point to 25,000, but that 25,000 is really all you really need. What I've learned in my 30 plus years in business, people walk through a house, there's certain things that they see that are almost subliminal. They don't even realize it makes them uncomfortable, but they don't know why. And then when they start talking about price, those little things that are off center, if it's cluttered for sure, but anything like a stain or horrible paint, a room is purple or something like that, it makes them, and that's reflected in their bid. They're going to get a lot less. And there's no reason for it because if you put in $5,000 or $10,000, you eliminate that. So they never feel it. They never breathe it in. You know what I mean? And so that's what we did with this.
The way I like to position it, Joe, is it's smart money, right? Yep. And once you get the money, you go from an expense out of pocket mindset to now you have an investment mindset. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
And that's how you need to look at this smart money. And, I'm also coining the word smart sellers because smart sellers want to sell their homes for a fair price.
Yeah.
Right? And if they're getting cash offers that are underbidding their homes, that's not smart.
Yeah.
All they need to do is a few things, maybe, and hire a great realtor and we'll get it done for them. Right.
Yep.
So
because either they're doing it through concierge or they should be doing it out of pocket, but they should be preparing their homes. So concierge gives the opportunity for people who either don't want to come out of pocket or see the value in not having to come out of pocket. So I got the money, but I might as well let you do it. We did $1.1 million sale and we put, I think 10,000, the most into it. But that house, this is another great example for concierge. I just thought of this. I forgot about it. It had been listed for a year at almost $1.2 million. And the client was saying that they only had 6 or 7 showings. It was listed with someone else for almost a year. And they were very dissatisfied with who they had. The listing expired. So when we walked in, I couldn't believe what I saw. I said, and I looked at the pictures. They were not professional photography. It was given to a guy who did, and this is another thing that's really a scourge to the industry. Guy did it part-time. You could tell he took the photos with his camera, there was stuff. There was laundry on the laundry. It was on top of the washing machine. This is $1.1 million house. You just never, ever do that. We did a buff and puff for like maybe, we did some painting, definitely some decluttering, light stuff, nothing major. The biggest thing was in the back. We power washed the patio. It looked brand new from something that needed repair. It didn't need repair. And so that was like the biggest thing we did. Everything else was very simple, clean up the pool a little bit and stuff, and professional photography. And I think the very first open house, we had 15 or 20 people. They had 7 showings the whole year. And we ended up selling it to a builder who had offered $700,000 for the house. That builder ended up coming up to over $1 million because he saw that we got offers close to list price, but he was all cash. And then he brought his offer up to very close to what our list was. It was lower than the other offers that we had, but we sold it in 30 days. That's Concierge. $12,000 Concierge and professional photography. It makes such a difference when you have a professional listing your home versus someone who's trying their best. They're not bad people, but that's not their profession. So Concierge helps us be the best we can be, in my opinion.
So Joe, you mentioned that you have a unique challenge on Staten Island, that there's a lot of competition, obviously, and that there's a lot of solicitations from realtors that are offering an as-is purchase or sale. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about that challenge and how you think we might be able to position Concierge, if you have any ideas on that?
It's a hard sell because all cash is like a table pounder for people. And unfortunately, this is something that I've struggled with. It's just a fact going back all these years where people were willing to sell their homes all cash. People, maybe it was their first purchase, and maybe they might have fallen a little behind in their mortgage, or maybe there was too much work they didn't want to bother with. And then they walk away from the equity that they had built over the last 10 years and they give it to some investor because they're going to get cash. And let's say at the time the house was worth 300, the investor's offering them 200, 225.
Right.
But they bought the house for 100. They owe whatever, and they're going to walk away with 50 grand. And that's it. That's it. But then they ceased to be a homeowner, and which meant they stopped building equity, but they did it for that 50 grand. So these cash investors prey on that. They prey on the people's short-term thinking of, now, this is not 100% of the time. Sometimes you need a cash investor because you are in trouble and you got to get out quick, and you just don't have time to get every dollar out of that. And there's a reality to that for sure. But my problem is in making that as if that's always the case, and it's definitely not.
I have also wondered if the as-is sale, if there's a way to position Concierge as a form of as-is.
Yeah.
In other words, like, it depends on how you define as-is, right? Yeah, sell the house as is, but everything's got to be in workable order. You may want to freshen up, decluttering. There's a difference between improving your home and there's a difference between the cost of doing business. The cost of doing business is like, you got to declutter. It's not very hard, but of course, that's easier said than done. You need help. You might need to spend some money to get some of those things done. So I'm wondering if Concierge could be positioned.
And it can. Now, we just had a client recently. It was an estate, and the two beneficiaries weren't talking to each other, and we offered the Concierge to them, and we said we would just trash it out. If you don't want to do any work, you're going to get more money. They didn't want to do it. They just wanted to sell it. So we sold it to an investor, and that's all the investor did that, and then sold it and made the money that should have been theirs. But that was more of a personal thing. But so you can definitely. And when you talk about staging, I think staging has evolved in that it's not what people always think staging is, where you're going to go in and you're going to bring in new furniture and stuff. That's the typical, and that's very successful. We've done that very successfully in the higher end market here on Staten Island, over $1 million. But staging now to me is a lot of times just decluttering and maybe taking furniture out. That's too much furniture, moving furniture around, not bringing anything new in. Because to me, I still consider that staging. I know it's decluttering, but I look at it as staging too, because you're making it just look way better than it, what make it present better. So when people walk in, they just get a better feel, and it's going to result in a better price. And it's really foolish not to do at least that. So what's really cool about Concierge is it gives people the ability to do whatever they should be doing, because everyone, if they use Concierge and they have their own money, this is what they should be doing before they sell the house. I use this analogy all the time, and we all do it. We drive our car around, we love our car and stuff like that. But then when we decide to sell it, we clean it out, we find stuff we didn't even know was there. We bring it to a place to get it waxed and stuff. And then when we're selling it, oh my God, this car is beautiful. Why didn't you do that the whole time when you had the car? It's the same
Right.
thing.
Oh yeah. I've been guilty of that.
Why didn't you live in a house where all the stuff I'm doing, you should do it. I've had 2 concierge people where we did a very light, less than 10,000 on both of them, saying, wow, I don't even know if I want to sell this house now. And I'm not kidding, but it's a great way to add money, and you're getting way more than dollar for dollar. You're getting at least twice the amount that you put in back in it. And I find it to be much more than that in the stuff that we do. So it's really,
Joe, I got to share an article with you. So you were talking about the definition of staging. Wall Street Journal wrote a really interesting article over this summer. I'll share it with you about, I think the title was like, does staging really work? What was great about the article was it defined staging as pretty much everything between just fixing and prepping to renting the high-end furniture and everything in between. So their point was, yeah, anything that you do to get your house ready for sale will help you sell your home that much faster.
for sure.
And that's why staging works. It's a fantastic article.
Yeah.
Again, it creates a broad definition. It's
Yeah.
not as high end. It's not just for people who have money, or, you don't have to do that. There's plenty else to do that will
Sure.
help you sell your home faster and therefore for more money.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah. I'll
it's
show that to you.
100%, and it's proven day in and day out. As I just said, it's a wonderful tool for Compass to share with the clients. It really, to me, separates us apart.
So Joe, we know we started this conversation with an awesome story about Concierge, and you've been very
Yep.
generous about your stories of Concierge. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you? Let's back
Okay.
up a little bit. Tell us a little bit about you and your team.
Okay, sure. We're native Staten Islanders. There's only 3 of us at this point, 3 on the team. And actually my agent, Kevin Bryant, is actually my son-in-law. And he joined the team, I guess about 3 years ago. And he's become a really great agent. Really, it's great to have him on board. So he learned all my crazy idiosyncrasies and stuff, all my beliefs and stuff. And he's now also client-centric and really knows the market really well. And he started his career working with special needs individuals. So he really has a lot of compassion. Our service area is Staten Island. So we're the only Staten Island team that only does Staten Island. So we do referrals outside of Staten Island, a lot of our business. We just closed a deal a month or so ago in Florida where a friend of mine was selling their house. And which another thing that's great about the Compass Network is that you are referring with confidence, because it's going to be a similar like-minded individual that you're referring to. But I still talk to them on the phone before I give the referral. In the case of Florida, I flew down there and I interviewed the agent myself.
Wow.
So yeah.
So can you give me like 5 things about Staten Island that are best kept secrets, like fun things places to visit, any parks, anything, like if there were 5 things.
Well, we are the borough of parks. So we have more parks than any other borough by far.
Is that right?
So like it's an amazing amount. I can't think of the numbers offhand, but like 40% of the land is parkland. And 100 and something parks.
Is that right?
I live across from a park. Yeah. It's absurd. It's
It's
crazy.
amazing.
That's the good news. The bad news is that we're growing like crazy. I would say
should
that
do
a really
Staten
good secret is a restaurant. It's on Bay Street. It's on the North Shore. It's a restaurant called Vinum, Vinum. And to me, if it's not the best restaurant, it's the best Italian restaurant on Staten Island. It's really hard to park there, so they do have valet parking. I know the chef, Massimo, he's amazing. And not many people know about it, but you will not be disappointed if you go to
That
that
sounds
restaurant.
exciting. That's
You'll be a little
awesome.
scared if you're down there at night, but who the hell is this guy, Joe Tyrone? But it's actually not that bad. But it really is. That's a jewel. That is a really nice restaurant. And then, of course, everybody knows Staten Island because of the Staten Island Ferry. And then the southernmost part of Staten Island, there's a thing that's called the Conference House. It's in the 1700s. And when the Constitution was being formed, there were meetings there. And that is the southernmost part of New York State, right there. And that Conference Park is really nice. Really, really nice place to visit.
Great.
It's wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah. And we do have a lot of restaurants who used to just be known for Italian restaurants and pizza places.
Yep.
And there's always, every year, there's a contest which pizza is best in Staten Island. It goes same 5 pretty much all the time. But a few new entrants came in recently. But there's still the old Staten Island, like Lee's Tavern, the Roadhouse, Joe and Pat's. These restaurants have been around for 50, 60, 70 years, all have great pizza.
Yeah.
But now Staten Island is known for other restaurants as well.
Tell us about your wiffle ball. I'm curious now.
So it's very cool.
Passion.
Yeah, it is a passion because I'm a philanthropist of some sorts. I like to give back to the community and I like to donate whenever I can. So here was something where I could have a lot of fun and make a difference. I ended up playing in a tournament. It started out in a friend's backyard up in Vermont where he had built a mini Fenway Park for wiffle ball size.
No.
So the Green Monster, all that stuff. And then he decided 22 or 23 years ago that he was going to do a fundraiser. So he read the book called 11 Seconds that was written by Travis Roy. He was a very gifted prodigy, actually, hockey player, played for Boston College. And he was a freshman and he was the only freshman ever to start. And so the very first game of the year, 11 seconds into that, this prodigy was checked against the boards and he became a quadriplegic. So we created a foundation, the Travis Roy Foundation. We played wiffle ball for him. First year, we raised $4,500. I brought my friends up. This is 20-something years ago that I used to play wiffle ball every day with when I was a kid. Now we're all in our 40s. And we're up there playing wiffle ball against all the 19-year-olds and 20-something-year-olds. We went up there as the Staten Island Yankees. We used their uniforms. We wore their uniforms. So we went up to, this is Boston country, like Boston Red Sox country. So they loved to hate us when we were up there. So we did it for 20 years and we were very successful. We were in the finals out of the 20 years 8 times. And we were in got to the semifinals another 8 times. Only 4 times did we not make it at least to the semifinals. But here's the story. 20 years, we raised $11 million for Spinal.
What?
$11 million in this, because this crazy guy, Pat O'Connor, whose yard it was, after it became successful, the tournament, he built Little Wrigley. He added Little Wrigley to it. Then the tournament expanded again, and he created Little Field of Dreams. And so now we had in Vermont, just outside of Burlington.
Wait, separately, or one? Was it a transformation?
A 13-acre backyard. Beyond that was a cow farm. We dubbed it the best weekend of the year. You played once a year on the weekend, and fundraisers throughout the year, bring him to the tournament. That's how it raised so much money. The last year alone, we raised $1.2 million. That was the year that Travis died. He died in 2021. Wow. So that was the last year. The tournament was 2021, I believe. Maybe 2022 was the last year of the tournament. And then there was another tournament that because Travis ended up buying that from my friend, the field and the house. And so the foundation owned it. When Travis died, he directed that it be sold, and it was sold to another guy from Vermont who lived on the other side of the hill, and he was doing a small tournament for diabetes. So he's very unique. He's a Yankee fan up there in Boston Red Sox country. This guy, once he bought the field, he made the 4th field Little Yankee Stadium. So he calls me up, says, Joe, you got to come out.
There's 4 fields? There's 4?
And now there's 4 in this backyard. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before in your life.
Wow.
So you got to come out every time. And can you
do a little documentary on this? This is amazing.
Well, there was one. It's a small town, big deal. Did a little documentary on it once. Small town, big deal. You can Google it. So I played again this year with my Staten Island Yankees, and I'm the pitcher, and we won the tournament. We raised $430,000 for diabetes. So that's my passion. That's my fun fact. And I'm like the wiffle ball king here. So, but it's so much fun to do. And it's such a worthy cause. And every penny goes to the people who need it. There's no in between. I've never, both foundations are amazing. It goes directly to the ones who need it. So
Great story.
yeah, so it's great.
Very touching. Who knew that Staten Island had such a great leader and such an amazing contribution to society?
Thank you.
It's such an honor to know you and be part of the Compass family.
Now,
So
one last fun fact is I mentioned to you what I'm working on with my investment banking experience. There's a whole big thing going on throughout the States where people are locked in their homes with these low mortgage rates. So I reconnected with some of my investment banking friends, and I've gone out there. I actually had a conference call with Fannie Mae last week. There's 4 of us that put together a little group because I came up with this idea of having the ability for people to port their mortgages. So if you have a 3% mortgage, you can take it to your next home. And it's a little bit of an...
So what is it? Can you give me an example or a couple examples? So you mentioned a seller that has a low rate. They want to move. Just give me a quick example on that end. Then think about a first-time home buyer.
So what would happen is, let's say it's in Staten Island and it's a condo for $450,000, and they might have a $200,000 loan on it because they probably got some equity, but that $200,000 loan, $200,000 to $300,000 loan, was probably either refinanced, depending on when they bought it, down to 3%, 3.5%, or they may have purchased it in 2020 and gotten a 3% loan, whatever. And now they want to sell. So the reason they're not selling is because if they want to move up to a $600,000 detached house, 650, they can't do it. So what this would allow them to do is to take whatever that loan is. Let's say it's 300,000 on that 450. They could take that loan, port it to their next house. So that would be, so when they sell, that money would go into an escrow account. And then that 300,000 would be used to purchase the $600,000 house. And they would probably have to get a second at market rate. But that's way better than getting a $450,000 loan at 6.5% versus 300,000 at 3 and 150,000.
Thank you so much for all your hard work. I want to go back to Concierge real quick. What can we do to improve getting the word out there with Compass Concierge? Do you think it's just more repetition?
There's 2 ways, 2 things that come to mind. Number one is really what you're doing. It's not just to toot your horn, but what you're doing is, like I see in Workplace, which is our Facebook group, work. I see you sharing your digital assets of what you're doing to promote it. And what that do is creating awareness from agents that have been with Compass and they heard about it, but they never really looked into it. And it's really opening up their eyes. So as more agents become aware of it, they're going to just be advertising that in their regular mailings and stuff like that, and it becomes more aware. But it's a firm-wide initiative. What they're doing is they're just creating awareness to the public that this is one of the many tools that Compass has. I think that's something that you and I can advocate for with management, and saying that's something that they should really consider, because it would be
listen, off the record. This is off the record, but I'm working with a former Facebook employee. I was on the phone with him for about an hour yesterday. I'm looking for a very cost-effective way for, I don't think Compass will flip the bill, but I think if we can just get their endorsement, it would be huge. There is what I consider a new, and there's a lot of different versions of this, so I don't want to make it seem like there's no competition, but there's a tool that I'm working on that will get Concierge out there, the benefits of Concierge, in a very systematic way. I think that's what's missing. The marketing materials are there. We have an amazing CRM. We're getting, let's face it, we're all getting more social, right? Because we have to. We feel like we have to, and of course that's not going to go away. But I think what's missing is like a system to make it easy for us to get the word out. So I'm working on an engine, if you will, to help realtors get it out to their sphere in a way that is systematic, that's repetitive, but not overwhelming, that's spaced out over time. And I'm hoping that we can transform and really get it out there and have someone say, what is that thing that you keep sharing? It looks interesting.
Yeah.
Right? I think we talked about Concierge being decluttering and making the space look bigger. I think there's also a hook around, hey, let's prevent home inspection surprises. Did you know that the number one deal killer in real estate is home inspection surprises, right? There's different hooks around the whole. Do you want a smooth closing? Do you want to ensure less stress?
Yeah.
Help you do that. So I think there's other angles that we haven't really touched on in a tasteful way. So we're going to explore then the idea around this community, the Compass Concierge community, or what I call the concierge selling system, because I'm really committed to creating a system that's easy to implement for all of us. The idea is that we will share what's working so that we can all benefit. Right. So
I think it's great.
but we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out. And it's so great to have you on the inside of being a leader and just like your commitment. And I know you've done some NAR work. This may not be the best platform to talk about that, but the fact that you're going to DC and sharing your thoughts and ideas with NAR and being an advocate for us realtors is really powerful. And who knew it would be a guy from Staten Island?
I know.
That's amazing.
I
That's
don't know.
so
I got,
awesome.
and I'm always going to be, I always tell everybody I got a life sentence. So there's no way I'm leaving. So
I
I
love
high school reunions too. So therefore I'm not going anywhere.